Alright, what is going on guys, it's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Now today what we've got for you guys is my season overview and finale review for Supergirl Season 2. Now Season 2 saw the move of the show from CBS over to the CW in order for it to become part of the larger Arrowverse. Now around the time of the crossover, we did actually figure out that Supergirl takes place on Earth 38 compared to Earth 1, where the rest of the DC TV shows take place on. Moving over to sort of my overview of the season, I really did enjoy how the beginning of Season 2 started off. I really enjoyed having Superman on the show in those first couple of episodes. I really felt like it sort of established the universe a bit more because, I mean, we had always seen sort of like a shadowy silhouette, I guess you could say, of Superman back in Season 1, but now I felt like it was really cool to sort of see him on the show and sort of build the universe up even more and sort of see the backstory that he had with the rest of the DEO as well as with Martian Manhunter, to see how they were sort of at odds at the beginning, but they ended up sort of becoming friends and allies by the end of those first couple of episodes. Now, in addition to getting introduced to Superman at the beginning of the season, we also got introduced to Metallo as well as Cadmus, who were going to end up being the villains for really the first half of the season, and it was sort of split into two distinct halves, I guess you could say, for the season. Sort of very different than what Arrow and Flash and Legends were doing, with sort of having one villain carry over throughout the entirety of the season instead of sort of changing villains there kind of halfway throughout the season, kind of making the season almost feel like it was kind of two half seasons kind of stuck together. While I don't really have a problem, like a huge problem with that, I kind of feel like it would have been a little bit better if they had one overarching villain throughout the entirety of the season, but I feel like they might go with that for Season 3. But backtracking to Cadmus and their storyline, I did end up actually enjoying sort of all the Cadmus stuff that they had. They were able to introduce Cyborg Superman as the real Hank Henshaw. They brought in Lena Luthor as well as Lena Luthor, as well as they had a lot of references and sort of nods to obviously Lex Luthor. They talked to him, or not talked to him, they talked about him, as well as they sort of showed off a couple of things that he was creating. Like I think we saw like the power armor, I guess he had that he uses to fight Superman in the comics. We saw that in the background of one of the episodes. I just thought it was pretty cool, all the Cadmus stuff, but I think I did like the second half of the season with the Daxamites just a bit better. And in addition to all of the Cadmus stuff at the beginning of the season, we were also introduced to Miss Martian, and we had a nice sort of Martian Manhunter, Miss Martian arc there at the beginning of the season, and then she ended up leaving there towards the end of that first half of the season, and then coming back in the final episode, which was definitely pretty cool. I thought Miss Martian was pretty cool on the show, definitely a lot different than her character on Young Justice, but definitely a pretty cool aspect to have on the show going forward. Also, throughout that first part of the season, we sort of saw the transformation that Jimmy Olsen had from being just normal James Olsen, now being sort of in charge, I guess you could say, of Catco after Cat Grant had left, and he sort of was wanting more out of his life, and he sort of wanted to help people and everything. And I think it was that episode where he had that camera that his father gave him, I want to say, and then it broke. He was sort of saying, oh yeah, I want to do something more, and he sort of had his arc and transformation into the Guardian, which I thought was just a very cool addition to the show. I had always thought, well, Jimmy Olsen, he's a cool character and everything, he's definitely different on the show, and I definitely like him on the show, but I just thought it was really cool when he ended up becoming a hero on his own. He ended up becoming Guardian with the help of Wynn, who created him a suit and was helping him out in the field, sort of being his kind of tech support character, as he is for Supergirl as well, now that he's working at the DEO and everything. But I just really thought that the James Olsen becoming Guardian part of the season was definitely really cool, and I really love the Guardian suit, and I really sort of like Jimmy Olsen being Guardian on the show. Keeping with the theme of introducing new characters to the show, one of the new characters that was introduced in this season ended up becoming probably one of my favorite characters on the show now, Mon-El. Mon-El was actually really cool. I wasn't so sure about him right at the beginning, but as he sort of progressed and became sort of part of the team, sort of kind of joined the DEO, I guess you could say, and started trying to be a hero, I really enjoyed his character going forward in the show, and I really liked sort of all of his interactions with everybody. I thought he was pretty funny as well, because obviously he was new to Earth and everything. He had all of his Daxamite powers, which are a little bit different than the Kryptonian powers that Supergirl and Superman have, but overall kind of similar, except he just can't fly, I guess. He can't fly. I don't think he has heat vision either, or frost breath. Yeah, he's just kind of super strong, and he can jump a lot, I guess. But anyway, I thought he was really cool. I just really hope that he ends up kind of getting a super suit or something going forward. But I'll talk more about him later. Now, let's move away from talking about the side characters over to the main focus of the show, which is Supergirl. Starting off this season, Kara had obviously already been Supergirl for about a year now, and it was definitely really cool to sort of see that contrast of her being such a good hero now, as compared to where she started out last season, in season 1, where she was just really struggling at the beginning of the season, trying to sort of become who she needs to be, trying to become the hero that she needs to be. And now with this season, it was definitely really cool to sort of see that character growth and that development into the hero that she is now. In addition to that, I did also really enjoy all of the Catco stuff that Kara had this season, with sort of dealing with Cat Grant kind of leaving there at the beginning of the season, to her having to kind of become a better reporter throughout the season under, I guess you could say, under the guidance of Snapper Carr. While he did seem to kind of hate her at the beginning, you could obviously tell that he just sort of wanted her to become the best kind of reporter that she could be, and I definitely really liked seeing her balancing her reporting job with the job of being Supergirl. And through Kara's new reporting job, we were also introduced to another character, Lena Luthor, who is actually Lex Luthor's sister, and it was definitely pretty cool to see Kara and her kind of interaction throughout the season and sort of their friendship develop throughout the course of the season. And she obviously became a bit of a bigger character towards the end of the season, and I thought that she was pretty cool, definitely a nice addition to the show. But if you guys didn't know, she will actually, Lena Luthor will be a series regular, or a season regular, I guess you should say, for season 3 of the show. Throughout most of this video, I've tried to stay pretty positive, and now there is one sort of little negative thing that I have here that was kind of bothering me throughout the entirety of the season, and that was sometimes side characters getting a little bit more focused than the main character. You know, it's a Supergirl show, but it was kind of hard for me to kind of think about sort of all the development that Kara had throughout the season, and that's just because she was, in a lot of the episodes, she was kind of overshadowed by a lot of the side characters. Now, I'm all for sort of developing the side characters, having them definitely be a big part of the overall story of the show, but it just seemed like the show was called Supergirl. It is called Supergirl, you know, and she wasn't really the main focus of a lot of the episodes. I remember specifically there's one episode where she was really only in the episode for like about as much time, I guess you could say, as like the flashbacks take up on Arrow, which was definitely pretty interesting. It's just a different style, I guess you could say, that the writers and stuff are taking for the show, is not really having her be the main focus of the show, but sort of having the other characters be a more of a bigger focus in some episodes. But that's just sort of my one little gripe, I guess you could say, with this season overall. But let's transition over to what I thought of the finale. Season 2's finale saw Mon-El's mother, Rhea, and her Daxamite army try to invade and take over Earth and sort of create a new Daxam on Earth. And I thought that this was definitely pretty cool. Like I said, I really liked all of the Daxamite stuff of this season. I think I liked it a little bit better than some of the Cadmus stuff at the beginning of the season. While I did like Metallo and everything, I think all the Daxamite stuff was definitely pretty cool, and sort of seeing all of the Daxamite ships and everything. I really liked all of the CG at the in this final episode, seeing all of the ships and everything invading National City and sort of the world, I guess you could say. But the finale just started off really well with that Supergirl versus Superman fight, kind of Injustice style, I guess you could say, with him being kind of brainwashed by the, Silver Kryptonite to make him think that he was fighting General Zod, which I thought was definitely pretty cool. And we definitely got a nice little comic book connect there, I guess you could say, with Supergirl actually ending up being able to defeat Superman, and sort of Superman saying, "You're stronger than me." You know, I thought that was pretty cool, because if you guys know, in some versions of the comics, Supergirl is stronger than Superman due to her not really having to restrain herself her entire life like Superman was. Like, he was brought up with trying to with his parents saying, yeah, you gotta hold back, dude. You can't be going off using all your Kryptonian powers, full strength and everything. But Supergirl was never really taught that in some versions of the comics and everything. So it was definitely pretty cool to see that she is stronger than Superman. on the show. Even though the Supergirl versus Rhea fight was supposed to be, I guess you could say, the main event of the show, or of the episode, I guess you could say, I really still enjoyed the Superman versus Supergirl fight more. I thought that was my favorite fight of the finale, and probably my favorite fight of the entirety of the show. One of my favorite scenes on the show. It was just really well done. All the CG looked really good and everything. But moving over to the Supergirl versus Rhea fight, I thought that obviously was not as good as the Superman Supergirl fight, but it was definitely pretty cool seeing her fight Rhea there, and I thought it was definitely really interesting when Rhea started bleeding like kryptonite blood, which was definitely pretty interesting, and how Supergirl was able to push through all of the kryptonite and everything and defeat her. But it definitely didn't surprise me there at the end when Supergirl actually activated sort of the lead thing to like put all the lead in the atmosphere, not a whole bunch, but enough to sort of get rid of the Daxamites. It didn't surprise me that Rhea ended up dying, but it was kind of weird to see the rest of the Daxamite, all the Daxamite soldiers get sort of beamed up to their ships, but they didn't bother to bring their leader with them. What's up with that? But it didn't surprise me that Rhea ended up dying there at the end of this episode. Now, unfortunately, having all that extra lead in the atmosphere made Earth unlivable for Mon-El, giving him only a few minutes to get off-world. So they got him a ship, and they had a pretty emotional goodbye between Kara and Mon-El, and then he had to leave the planet. Now, he went up in his ship. I don't know if it was either a Daxamite ship or a Kryptonian ship. I guess it really doesn't matter. But when he went up into space, I guess you could say the not a post-credit scene, but sort of the ending, almost cliffhanger you could say, is when he was floating through space, a wormhole opened up and he went inside of it. Now, I will go more in depth on my theories on this in another video pretty soon here, but what I can just say right now is I think that there's definitely a few possibilities of where this wormhole led. So maybe it led to a different universe, possibly Earth 1, or maybe the universe where the new Titans show is going to take place. Most likely not, but that's just definitely a possibility. Some people have been saying that maybe it goes to the Phantom Zone, but and sort of maybe him going into the Phantom Zone will lead to maybe the main villain for Season 3 getting out once Mon-El is able to get out. I don't know about that, but probably the theory that I like the most, or something that I would like to happen, is have this wormhole transport him to the future, into the 30th century, where he can go and meet the Legion of Superheroes, get a Legion flight ring, and sort of join the Legion of Superheroes like he did in the comics, get his flight ring, get his super suit, and sort of somehow be able to withstand all of the lead on Earth and travel back to the present day and be Valor, or whatever they want to call him on the show. Now, the final scene of this episode was a flashback to when Krypton was exploding and when Krypton was dying, and we saw these cloaked, hooded people put this baby into a pod to obviously send it off-world, and a couple of things here is they called it an it, so there's a possibility that this thing is like a crazy monster thingy, so I kind of thought, oh, maybe it's like Doomsday or something, but most likely not. And another thing interesting that they said is that one of them said it will rain, and Rain is actually a character from the comics, from the Supergirl comics. She's actually a Supergirl villain, and they're called Rain. They're part of this group called the World Killers. I don't really know too much about Rain, but that was just pretty interesting. I've seen some people talk about this. I've seen a lot of people actually talk about this, saying that there's a possibility that this is Rain and that this is the villain for the next season, but I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. So overall, I did actually end up really enjoying this season of Supergirl, especially the first couple of episodes as well as the last couple of episodes of the season. I thought that those were probably the best episodes, but if I had to give it a number rating, I'd probably say maybe 7.5 or 8 out of 10, I guess I could say. But I want to know what you guys thought of this season of Supergirl down in the comments below. Tell me if you liked it, tell me if you didn't like it. I want to know your thoughts down in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Taz, and I will see you guys in the next video.